Hey MMA fans, Caged Minds, your host Mike and Frankl here to do our predictions for UFC 146. The main card is full of the big hitters, the heavyweights, the prelims, got a lot of exciting fights. There's 12 fights in total. Let's get right to doing our predicting. Start off with the first fight, Mike Brown versus Daniel the Pit Poineda. Brown 25-8. Daniel Poineda is 17-7. Mike Brown has to turn this into a wrestling match, has to get on top and use his size. Both men on their striking primarily have boxing as their striking techniques. Poineda has the better head movement, is faster and younger, and I think he's going to wear down Brown. We saw him be able to drop Mech and Semenzar, and I think the same thing's going to basically happen to Brown, turning Brown into a wrestler, and I think Poineda is going to be able to jump on a submission. It could be a triangle, it could be an armbar. I'm thinking that the longer the fight goes, the cardio will be in Pineda's favor, but the likelihood of Poineda winning a victory via the decision does not really happen. Brown has the experience of winning the decisions, grounding out the fights. He could grind this out, pound this out. I don't look for that to happen, though. I think Poineda hits him, hurts him, drops him to the ground, and then is able to sink in a submission. We're going to go with a triangle or an arm bar. It could be that kind of combination again, like he did versus Semenzar, dropping him, getting on there, maybe even getting the rear naked choke. Some kind of submission off of hurting Brown and turning Brown into a wrestler, being able to get this in the later rounds, either the second or the third, but a submission is what we're going to pick for Poineda. Either that, or if it's Brown and win, Brown grounds out a unanimous decision using his wrestling. Either way, though, this hits the mat. Next fight we're going to talk about Kyle Kingsbury, who's 11-3 with one no contest, taking on Glover Teixeira, who's 17-2. Glover Teixeira could be the best light heavyweight that none of us have ever heard of. Great grappling, great striking. Kyle Kingsbury is a great athlete who has thunderous one-strike power. Is his accuracy there? No. Does he have the knowledge and the technique that Teixeira does? No. I think that Kingsbury can win this in a decision if he uses that athleticism and a strength advantage. On the other hand, I really think that Teixeira is going to put on a show, keep it standing, use his better striking, and put Kingsbury to sleep. Going to look for this one to happen. Second round, first round kind of be a feeling out process in the clinch, but I think Teixeira takes advantage of the less well-rounded, less veteran striker, and that Teixeira will make a huge impact in his debut in the UFC. Moving on from that fight, next one we're talking about, and this is rounding out the Facebook prelims. It's Jacob Volkmann versus Paul Sass. Volkmann 14-2, Sass is 12-0, undefeated. Volkmann, longest winning streak out of any lightweight in the UFC. It's at 5 right now. Will it get to 6? Sass wants to stop that. Sass, we know him, most consecutive wins from anyone by triangle, and now I think it's 2 to 3 consecutive wins with the heel hook. He's a dangerous submission expert, 11 of 12 with that submission. Volkmann is a neutralizer and a grappler, and it's his knowledge of position, and I think it's his ability to have the technical game plan and his mind that sets him apart. Sass wins. It's most likely with a leg lock catching the wrestler, but I really see this playing out as a unanimous decision for Volkmann, making it 6 straight and controlling, being the smarter, more well-rounded fighter, grinding this out. Volkmann is very impressive with that style and will keep it rolling. Now we go on to what is on the FX part of the prelims. Down to Outlaw Hardy, 23-10 with one no contest, taking on Duane Bang Ludwig, who's 29-12. Both of these men are primarily strikers. Hardy, massive left hook, has that knockout power, has a great personality. He lacks in the grappling, and he's had that mental block ever, it seems, since the loss to GSP. Duane Bang Ludwig, a striker who, since his ankle injury, has came back. Beat up Amir Sadallah, was working Josh Neer until Josh Neer took him to the ground. So both of these men are looking for the weakness on the ground, and that's where both men are weak. We hope to. This fight is built up as staying standing and striking, putting on a great show for the fans. That happens. Ludwig is more technical, more precise, and Ludwig will win a unanimous decision. If this goes to the ground, it's just a shame, but I wouldn't be surprised if Hardy tries to take it there after getting beat up. But I think Ludwig's learned enough to keep himself standing, nullify, even maybe sweep with his jiu-jitsu, but I look for this mostly to stay standing, and 29-28, Duane Ludwig will win a unanimous decision. Next fight we're talking about, Jason Mayhem Miller, 24-9. with 1 no contest, taking on CB the Doberman Dollaway, who's 12-5. Jason Mayhem Miller, this could be his last shot with the UFC. Same thing for Dollaway. Loser of this basically just wrote himself a check out of town. Miller has the better jiu-jitsu, the more experience in this fight. Dollaway has the better wrestling and will look to try to grind it out. Dollaway ends up getting pushed around though, and this fight just screams to me Miller has the potential to win because he has more heart, he'll come in better shape. Dollaway, just a full set of skills, just does not seem to be coming together. He is the harder hitter, but Mayhem has the better chin, I believe. Mayhem will get this fight to the ground, most likely win it with a submission, and we're going to look for that to happen. I believe it's going to be with a armbar, because Dollaway is really experienced himself with the chokes. I think Mayhem's going to go for a limb, an armbar, Kimura, and this happens probably in the 3rd round, somewhere around when both men are getting tired. I think Mayhem's going to win this one on heart and on the better technique with the grappling, so we're going Mayhem Miller with a 3rd round late submission. Next fight we're talking about now. Edson Barboza Jr., who's 10-0, taking on Jamie Varner, 19-6-1 with 2 no contests, and Varner is coming in on late replacement. Edson Barboza, outstanding striking, his Muay Thai, his kickboxing, his kicking. We all saw what he did in his last fight, spinning wheel kick, catching Terry Edom right in the nose. He's the better striker. He has very good takedown defense. And Barboza, it's just you got to think, does he win this fight with knockout or to the decision? Varner's tough, and Varner's never been stopped by the strikes. So really, going unanimous decision. Wouldn't be surprised to see it 30-27. Edson Barboza will be victorious, keeping this standing and outstriking his opponent. Next fight we're talking about, Ultimate Fighter winner Diego Brandao, who's 19-7, is going to take on the 14-2 Darren the Damage Elkins. Elkins will keep this standing at the beginning, and Brandao, we know about his explosiveness, his craziness, and what we're wondering to see is how his technical abilities have came along. Is he calmed down? Is he using distance, cutting angles? We know about the explosive jiu-jitsu, and how has that all came together? How has he matured? Elkins is going to be looking to grapple, get the fight to the ground. He'll stand up and test his waters as he normally does, but the minute he gets hit, and I'm sure he will get hit and tagged hard, he will be looking to take this to the ground, and in there we see if Brandao can nullify the takedowns or get his jiu-jitsu working off his back. But he's the better striker, and Elkins does like to stay in strike. I think that Brandao's going to have a chance for the knockout, and I believe he gets it. I'm going to go in the 2nd round because every round starts off standing. I think he's going to hurt him in both rounds and finish him in the 2nd. We're taking Diego Brandao with the TKO, more power, more speed than what Elkins has. Next matchup we're going to, and this starts off the main card, the heavyweights. Starting that off with Stefan Struve, who's 27-5, taking on late replacement Lavar, Big Johnson, who's 17-5. Struve, without a shadow of a doubt, has got to get this fight to the ground. He has 15 wins via the submission, and Johnson, 4 of his 5 losses are from the submission. On the other hand, Lavar Johnson is, like we've seen, a TKO machine with very heavy striking capabilities. 15 TKOs, and Struve has lost 4 fights via the TKO. Struve kind of thinks this is an easier fight for him than Mark Hunt, and he'll be able to get the fight to the ground easier. I think some of those words may just make Lavar Johnson mad. He came out in an interview this week and said, I have no one to fear. I think he's going to come in without a doubt and just run right at Struve, look to nullify the 2-inch reach advantage, that 7-inch height advantage, get on the inside and just start blasting hooks to the body. Lavar Johnson, I think, continues his wrecking path. This fight ends in the 1st round. It'll be Johnson with the TKO, and that's the prediction. I don't see him wasting the time playing with the ground game. On the other hand, this prediction is all wrong if Struve gets it to the ground, pushes it down, and gets some kind of submission. I'm not quite sure which one, but we have seen Johnson be beat by Shane Rosario and Sean Jordan with key locks, Kimuras, arm locks. But on the other hand, we have seen this wrecking machine since entering the UFC, and if Struve stays standing, he has to go for that takedown immediately, or Johnson will knock him out. I think that Struve does test his striking ability. He's going to get caught, and Lavar Johnson wins with a first-round TKO. If he gets into the second round, Struve most likely has the bigger gas tank and will take the grappling to the ground and get a submission. But we're going with Johnson and the knockout. Next fight we're talking about, staying with those heavyweights. Love this main card. Stipe Miocic, who's 8-0, taking on Shane Rosario, who's 11-0. Rosario, this is going to be his debut in the UFC, and it's been forever since he's been in the cage. It's like 2 years, a year and a half. It's a huge layoff, injuries, and a car accident, but both of these guys are finishers. Stipe has 6 TKOs, 1 submission out of those 8 victories. Rosario's never seen the decision, 8 TKOs and 3 submissions. So, from what we do know, though, is that Miocic's been on a roll. He's been active. He has great wrestling and great boxing. Rosario has great jiu-jitsu, great Muay Thai, but it's that ring rust. It's how does he rebound from the accident. It is his back 100%, because believe you me, I know how much a hurt back can affect someone. So I got to go with Miocic to win this fight. He has the heavy hands. If he connects, he can end it with the TKO, or he has the wrestling ability to get the decision. But we're going with Miocic, just not knowing how Rosario is going to bounce back, and we're going to go with a unanimous decision. I think these fighters will really have a long fight, and it'll be interesting to see who gets the best of the stand-up with the leg kicks and who can nullify each other's movement first. But we're going with Miocic, knowing more about him, and I figure it's going to be a decision, actually. Next fight, we're talking about Roy Big Country Nelson, 17-7, looking to get back on the winning ways, taking on, again, another late replacement who has moved on to this card, Dave Pee Wee Herman, who's 21-3. Nelson, his cardiovascular ability since losing the weight, it keeps getting better. We've seen him grow. We know about the one-shot knockout capability. His wrestling and his jiu-jitsu are very top-notch on their own. Dave Herman, for what we've seen about him, he hits, he can take a lot of hitting. He doesn't like to be on the ground so much. If you put him on his back, you could possibly finish him. He does have some knockout power, but the heart just seems to be lacking, and that's where we're going on this. On heart, on the better grappling ability, and sticking to the game plan, because both of these guys very, very solid with the chin. I think Roy Nelson wins this fight in unanimous decision. He'll push against the cage, and he'll get the takedowns when Herman starts to gas. He'll make his life heck because he knows how to use his weight that he does still have left on him to control from the position on top, and will make Herman's night miserable and try to beat up his face like Verdum did Nelson last time. So we're taking Roy Big Country Nelson to win this fight with unanimous decision. If Herman's to win, it's probably the same way. It could be a split decision if he wins it. Big Country doesn't get stopped by TKOs, and Herman, it's going to be hard for him to get that reach, that 4-inch, but Nelson can do it, so we're going with Roy. Now we move up to the co-main event of the night. Cain Velasquez, who's 9-1, taking on Antonio Bigfoot Silva, 16-3. Bigfoot again, another guy that was moved around on the card, moved up to this fight, I think. And now he gets a huge shot. This was originally Velasquez versus Mir, #1 contender. So you would figure for Velasquez, it's still a #1 contender. For Silva, it's a huge way to make a mark in his debut in the UFC. Velasquez, the better wrestler, and from what we've heard, is a phenomenal striker, because at AKA they keep talking about how he's the best heavyweight striker. And look at the performances that Daniel Cormier has put on. Cormier did knock out Antonio Silva, and I think 90-95% of the people that are talking about this fight, everyone feels it's a foregone conclusion. Velasquez has the better wrestling, the better striking, and he will win this fight with a TKO. Only thing that could happen is if he gets overzealous in a sweep, that Silva could get on top, and he'll land his big meat hooks for a TKO. He could switch position. That's, I think, Antonio Silva's really only way, is to get a sweep from being taken down and get back on top. Other than that, Velasquez will roll with domination, and he wins this one with a TKO. First round or second round, this is going to be a ground and pound TKO. Cain Velasquez looking to get back to his title. I believe he will be successful in this fight. And then the main event, Junior Dos Santos, 14-1, taking on Frank Mir, 16-5. Dos Santos is younger. He's faster. Mir has a hard time taking a punch. If Nogueira didn't try to go for the jiu-jitsu, went for the ground and pound, he probably would have beat Mir. Mir has a chance to beat Dos Santos, but every round starts standing. Dos Santos is just so fast with his hands and so technical with it. Junior Dos Santos will win this fight. A third round TKO, beating up Frank Mir and then finishing him off. Mir, if he wins, it's probably going to be a submission. We all know it. He has to get this fight to the ground. Anything from there, a Kimura, a leg lock, an armbar, he could take home a limb. I'm sure I'm going to be cheering for Frank Mir that night, but it just looks like Dos Santos is his time, and he's the new face of the heavyweight division. It's going to be a striker to have to beat him. Still look forward to Overeem versus Dos Santos if that happens one day, but Junior Dos Santos will beat Frank Mir with the TKO. We're going with the third round. This has been Caged Minds, our long prediction show for UFC 146. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the videos. Hit the like button for the video. Leave me a comment. Hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. Uncage the warrior within yourself. And have a good night.